It's a big box from America. Let's see what a $470 foam shotgun looks like. All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
This is my boomstick.
Yeah, everyone else made that joke, but I've been a fan of Evil Dead for years, and I have the Halloween costumes to prove it. This beautiful looking blaster is the Stagecoach by Femling Designs, and this was sent to me by OutofDarts. It is printed immaculately. The detail on this, the scrolling, and all of the style of this is absolutely amazing. The first thing you'll notice when you pick up the Stagecoach is that it's insanely heavy. This thing is printed almost solid, I believe, because it is driving two massive beefy plunger tubes just to prime this blaster. And you know what? Considering how beefy those are, the prime is actually not bad. I usually hold it like this and use my arm to break it. This blaster uses silly shells. Silly shells, if you don't know about those, by a creator named Silly Butts, can take all sorts of ammo. This shell has 6 half darts in it. This dart has a MEGA XL in it, and it will fire them both great. The Stagecoach has a dual stage trigger here, or dual action trigger. I'm more of a flywheel guy, sorry for that slip. If I pull the front one, it fires my left barrel. If I pull the back one, it fires the right. It can be configured, and OutofDarts sent me the parts that you can make it so the first trigger fires one barrel, or the second trigger fires both barrels at once, which is probably what I will switch mine over to. I think that would be really great. So no doubt, you're probably stuck on one of the first things I said when I was unboxing this, and that's the price. Now, I don't want to get too bogged down in that, but I do have a few things to say. This blaster, if you want it to arrive like this, fully assembled, well, pretty much. You do have to use a couple of breakdown pins to connect the halves, but if you want it to arrive like this, it's going to cost you $470, which admittedly is a steep price tag. And we're going to talk about in a minute whether it's worth it and if that cost is justified. Your other option is $370. That's for a hardware kit and a 3D printed part kit, and you still assemble it. I feel like if I paid $370 with what a complex build this looks to be, I would probably shell out the extra and just have someone assemble it. We're already in pretty deep. But the other option, which I think is incredibly reasonable, is a hardware kit, and that is $72. That is very reasonable, I think, because there's a lot of hardware, a lot of things to source. There's tons of screws and bolts. This would be a bit of a pain to source all these different things from McMaster Car or your local hardware store or Amazon. You'd end up with a quantity of a zillion for each different part. I think that price for a hardware kit and someone putting that all together for you is really, really good. Don't forget though, with the hardware kit, there is more cost. There is all the filament. Maybe you have a stockpile and you don't need to buy any, but otherwise to have the different colors, you're gonna have to buy 3 rolls. And you do have to ask yourself, is your time worthless? And sometimes when it comes to saving a bunch of money, yeah. And there is a complete build guide from OutofDarts to make it completely possible for you to do this and put it together. That's my blaster. Cool. So I'm gonna go into a few reasons why this is the cost it is, because I want to nip a few comments right at the start. You'll get people making the overreacting emojis on this stuff. I get that it's expensive. I don't know that right at this moment in time I could have justified buying this for me just with that cost coming into Christmas time. Totally get that. But this thing is printed almost solid, would be tying up a printer or printers for a good length of time. The assembly time of this, I mean, I'm sure the people at OutofDarts build a lot faster than me, but you got to be spending an afternoon on this, I would think, or close to an afternoon, half an afternoon, the way those guys have it dialed in. Someone like me, I'm probably going to end up spending most of the day assembling this, and I'll probably do something wrong along the way. So you got to factor in that labor time, not to go overboard and jump right into defending price, but I've already seen some comments on other videos, and I just want to make a point to say, as someone who's bought a lot of expensive blasters and who's made custom blasters and done commissions and built my own blaster, a lot of work goes into it, and you do need to try to recover your costs. And OutofDarts, they're the equivalent of this hobby's big business. They sponsor a lot of stuff. They put a lot of things out there. And I know if they put that price tag on this blaster, fully assembled and everything, that's where it had to be. You know, they're a business. They have to make money. And this fully assembled option isn't for everyone anyway. This is for kind of the diehards who don't have any interest in doing the 3D printing part themselves, or don't have time, or maybe they're fellow YouTubers, maybe they're cosplayers, or for whatever reason, they have just always dreamed of having a double barrel Nerf shotgun, and they're willing to pay that premium to get it. As someone with $200 and $300 Lego sets, and knowing people in the RC hobby and golf and all other things, when you get deep into a hobby and you're getting more premium stuff, it gets expensive. And that's all I'm gonna say about that. I just wanted to do kind of a little tiny rant on that. And I'm gonna go back to what I think is an excellent deal, which is the hardware kit. $72, and granted, you're gonna have to spend maybe that much again on filament, but you can do that over time. You can break up that cost and build it at your leisure. So I think if fully assembled is just way out of your price point or what you can manage, I think that hardware kit price is very accessible. And printers, as we all know, especially on this channel with all my talking about Bamboo Lab lately, printers are getting more affordable than ever as well. I don't think you could print all of this on an A1 Mini, but you could certainly print it on a Bamboo Lab A1. And hey, those holiday sales are basically here now. Okay, so let's get back on track. Let's talk a bit about performance of this blaster. Who doesn't love shell ejection? This blaster uses a turnaround system where air volume from our plungers goes out of here where we have these gaskets into these bottom holes, it's hard to see, and comes around out through here and into the silly shells. As you can imagine, that air's making a turn. It's going through a couple gaskets. So this blaster is not as powerful as something that a plunger tube is kind of feeding straight into the shell, which means you're gonna fire elite darts around 100, mega darts around 80, and your clusters of short darts, they're not going super far. This is short range engagement. Mega XL darts, we're getting around 50, which is stock for Mega. Hey there, editing me here. I have to admit, I had just been kind of quoting some of the results I'd seen from others. I had to pick up a battery for my chronograph. When I did some testing, I was actually getting with single delete silly shells, more like 115, 120. And with Mega, I was getting 90 plus. So actually a little bit better performance than I was saying here. Mega XL was about the same. And all of these speeds keep this blaster under the limits that you need for HVZ, because I think that's where this blaster really shines, is in, like that's pretty snappy actually. I think that's where this blaster really shines, is fun gameplay, HVZ, casual play. And I think that's the part that's going to make some people's heads grind a little bit. I think we're used to the premium costs being attached to the pro performance or competitive performance. We're not as geared up to associate the premium price with a more fun loadout or casual performance. Me personally, all my blasters that have performance closer to this, I use a lot more. I do a lot more plinking. I would use this in a community event. I would use this in a corporate event that I'm running. I would use this as a cowboy boss in a party I'm running. I will get more use out of this as a casual friendly blaster than I would if it was pro. Now there are some shells you can get that look really cool. It's a silly shell with a really long barrel. They're called sniper shells, and I think you can get 170 FPS out of a half dart with those. I think that's cool that you can do it. I don't imagine that I would ever use that. This isn't something I'm going to break out to be the most competitive person on the field, but it is something I would break out for the satisfaction of tagging people out with some shells. One little add-on note to performance. Your performance in a shell blaster is generally really affected by the shell. So I've printed all my shells. I have a few that are printed in PLA, and I have some that were printed in PETG. And even though, you know, everything looks the same and they're really clean prints, my PLA ones generally seem to work a tiny bit better. So I'm guessing it's just like a little tiny bits of tolerance and a difference in the filament. With PLA shells, me personally, that's what I'll probably print most of my silly shells in, because in the couple different blasters I have that use them, they work better. Some of you who print are not going to agree with that. It's very situational. Maybe it's something about my setup. My suggestion would be print in each and see if you notice any difference. And if you do, trying to make them all the same. I noticed in the video that I made, one of the mega darts that I fired didn't come out as hard as usual, and there was a group of 6 half darts that didn't come out quite as hard as usual, and coincidentally they were with the PET G shells. Now also, quality of your dart enters in too, I guess. This is why shells aren't really associated with high performance. It's more fun. And what fun they are, because there's no easier way to fire 6 half darts at once. So you live with a little inconsistency. I have a clip from my friend Andrew, aka Dartsweep. Look at him using this blaster down in Maryland. I doubt he got the most tags that day, but he's having a blast. There's a lot of smiles as people are getting tagged with those shotgun blasts, and it's just obviously a really good time. Woo! Woo! Pew, pew.
Ooh, this is fun.
So ultimately, in the end, is this blaster worth it? There's zero way it's not worth getting a hardware kit and building it just to have something that looks this amazing in your collection. And these blasters are printed, I believe, on the Bamboo Lab A1. So if you get an A1, there's no barrier between you and this kind of quality. Well, okay. A little bit of a barrier. They have their printers pretty dialed in. They have people monitoring them. They have some really nice filament choices. Like, there's a bit of a learning curve for printing, but that learning curve is getting shorter and shorter and shorter. But you could do something very comparable after you get up and running and get some learning under your belt for sure. It's all time. Time is the thing, and time's the thing that costs money. So hardware kit, absolutely 100% recommend. Hardware kit plus the 3D printed parts for $370. I feel like at that point, I'm personally either going to buy a printer and the hardware kit if I had to, or I'm gonna splurge the extra if I don't have time to make it, or I'm worried about making it and I really want it to be perfect. I'm gonna splurge the extra. I mean, if I can afford $370, arguably I can afford $470. These are some hobby economics that have got me into a lot of trouble. Don't judge me too harshly. So yeah, the printed part kit plus the hardware kit, maybe. It would make it a good gift for someone to do and assemble who doesn't have a printer. That would probably be my least favorite option. And then the fully assembled, all ready for you, printed immaculately. Yeah, I mean, I do think it's worth it if you really, really love shotguns, you really love shell blasters, you really love double barrel blasters. If you're just a sucker for the highest performance thing, like you just want to dominate the field, I don't think this is for you. This is for if you want to still be able to have a Nerf battle in your house, maybe with your kids or friends, and just have the coolest looking blaster ever and not break all your lamps. This is awesome. If you play HVZ, Humans versus Zombies, again, this is awesome. You're probably going to want a little sidearm on your hip for when your 2 shells are out. This is really, really fun. The bottom line is, I think that price, fully printed, fully assembled, at $470, that'd be getting pretty steep even for me, but I am more of a flywheel person. It's such a personal choice. I do know that this is the best quality that it could possibly be. It would be a beautiful wall hanger. It would be a beautiful cosplay piece in your custom colors to go with whatever outfit or whatever you're doing. It is a heck of a blaster. Anyway, it's your decision. No one's making you buy it. I've spent a lot of money on blasters if I really wanted something, and I suspect there are people out there who will do the same. Whether this blaster is worth it is entirely up to you, but whether the price is fair, I'm going to say it is. One last thing I should say is it's really not for kids at all. It's too heavy, and it's so valuable that I would not want someone to drop it. And even though it's printed so solid, I don't want a big dent or gash in any of my filament. I kind of want to keep this thing in my own hands and protected. And I think you understand. I think once we're spending this much money on a blaster, that we're going to use it ourselves. One other little note about this blaster before I tie this up. I should have put this earlier to make sure you see it, but if you do get it, it comes with these depriming shells. There's no easy way to deprime this blaster. That you do not want to dry fire it at all. So you put these in, you click in the first shell, the second one can just drop in, we close it, and then we can fire the blaster and deprime it. You need something to kind of block that air and cushion the plunger head. If it was empty, the plunger head would just smash up into the end of the plunger tube. You never want that in any blaster. So that's what those depriming shells are for. You can also, by not quite fully priming the blaster, you can eject your shells out if you don't want them to go flying, but having them go flying is half the fun. One other little thing, if I open this up again, I was given the advice, when this is broken open, don't mess around with it. Don't press on those little orange tabs. Those are what the trigger hits in order to fire the blaster, and you don't want to fire it while it's bent in this configuration. That can also damage your blaster, which is another reason to not just kind of hand this over to kids or whoever. Mega shell, elite shell. So with that, I'm gonna end this video. I want to know what you think. Do you agree with some of the things I said? Disagree? Is this something that would be a dream blaster for you? Do you think you'd be more likely to make it or just take the plunge and buy it outright? I actually have a similar conundrum. I really want to get a breacher. A breacher really speaks to the old 12 gauge pump that I had when I was younger, and I just think it would be really cool to have something like that in Nerf foam blasting form. So I'm actually leaning towards fully assembled because it looks like a lot of work. Do you think it being the performance it's at is good enough for you? Or would you absolutely need higher performance in order to justify this? In my opinion, I don't know that this is your best pro blaster configuration, but I know some people are all about that FPS. Thank you very much, OutofDarts, for sending this to me. This will be a treasured part of my collection. It will appear in some different videos. I will be using this in a whole bunch of different games. I actually love the FPS of this because it makes it so much more usable than if it was higher power. I'm gonna put some links in the comments below to some of the other reviewers who maybe get into a little bit more depth on the tearing it down or the different pins or some of those details. The thing that really stuck out for me that I wanted to talk about was just the quality and who it's for. And it's for fun. It's a toy. It's a high-end toy, but it is a toy. And remember, shop smart, shop OutofDarts.